Well, hi for now, folks. This vlog is about not the easiest of subjects we've ever talked about. Debt problems are one of those big taboos that you're not really supposed to mention in public. But I'd like to think that this video might just help someone in a similar position, which is why I took the plunge. Plus, I'm very pleased to be joined this week by an old friend who stuck with me during an awkward problem some time before. Yep, it's that expert in web design, Colin! But yeah, this vlog probably needs a little backstory, which would have been a tip to help Victor Hugo make his novel Notre Dame a little easier to read. There were probably three major factors that put me in debt. Everyone talks about student debt, of course, but that's why I planned to work extra hard in my summer before going to uni. Unfortunately, those plans were scuppered by my father having a heart attack just before that summer, so instead of earning, I was piling up credit looking after him. Most universities, including the one I went to, have great access schemes, but they can't help you if they don't know of your need, and I was just a little bit too ashamed to tell them. So my financial situation was a little bit worse than most when I graduated. I then made a very ill-informed decision to try starting a film business. I had some really good customers right at the start, which led me to get a really good loan, but my colleagues were... how can I put this nicely? Their heads were full of something beginning with S, ending with T, and with hi in the middle. They ran off with all my money, basically. Had a car crash in there because someone thought indicators were just a bit too garish, and a couple of girlfriends who liked to squeeze me dry while squeezing someone else's thigh, and it all kind of built up. Now, I got pretty good at debt management, paying enough to keep my creditors happy while using the points on loyalty cards to get the occasional birthday present and so on. But being a self-employed storyteller isn't the most lucrative of jobs and leaves you at the mercy of market forces like governmental hatred of the arts. While I did manage to keep my business always solvent, personally, I had months where I struggled to make ends meet. My first saving grace was working tax credit, but just recently we found out that's being renamed to working tax. So I spent all my remaining pride seeking help and got directed to a chap called Bob who helps people in the local area arrange debt relief orders. So what are DROs? Well, they were set up by the last Labour government as an alternative to bankruptcy for people with no fixed assets. While bankruptcy leaves a permanent stain on your financial record, a DRO is completely cleared about 2 years after it starts. On the one hand, it protects you, telling your creditors that they're not allowed to pester you for money anymore. But on the other hand, it comes with the responsibility that if you manage to make enough money within a year to pay off those creditors, you still will. If your financial situation hasn't improved by the end of that year, though, all of your debts are just written off, and 6 months after that, your credit score is clean too. Now, I had two big questions when I was offered a DRO. The first was, well, how would it affect my business and charity work? If I went bankrupt, for example, that would have meant having to pull out of my business partnership and stop being a trustee for certain charities. But I was assured that a DRO would have no impact on any of those activities. So my next big question was, well, how would I deal with the guilt of owing quite a few people lots of money and then having the government step in and say, nope, this guy's giving us a £90 admin fee, so you can't ask him for anything? Well, Bob's answer was this: do you really think those multi-billion pound companies are really going to care about a few £100 they lose from you? Not only that, but think back to the time when you first got into financial difficulty. Remember those letters saying, because you're late with your payment, we're going to charge you a £15 administration fee? Well, of course, they don't need to charge you £15 just to tell you you're late. They actually do that deliberately to increase your debt. Now, you may think that means they're just nasty people, but actually they're just businessmen, and those two things don't have to mean the same thing. Because you see, the bigger your debt, the more money they can get for it when they sell it on to a debt collection agency. And those agencies then use that debt as security for their own loans and business dealings, meaning ultimately, well, everyone's just juggling with non-existent pennies. It's a game, basically, in which the score is your stress level. So I paid my £90 and got a handshake from Bob congratulating me on becoming a debt-free man. My dad then took me on holiday for a week, and when I got back, I got stuck straight into the work that I love so much. And 1 week after that, catastrophe. The bank I used for my business account found out about my DRO and had their own company policy which treated it as bankruptcy, which meant I couldn't be a partner in my business anymore. But instead of just kicking me out, they cancelled every single direct debit with all of our suppliers, including important things like our insurance. Suddenly, it was as if my business didn't financially exist, despite all of the letters from schools and the Arts Council saying how much money they were sending us. I'd gone from being debt and stress-free to nearly having a complete emotional collapse in just 2 weeks. That could have seriously ruined my whole career. So in times like this, you have to be ready to be grateful. And my first thanks goes to Cotton Pad, Tito, and even the return appearance of Colin here, who spent that first evening just calming me down and cheering me up. This meant I was no longer panicking when I later delivered the news to my business partner and her hubby. And so my second big thanks has to go to them for just how quick they were to devote time to fixing things. Their positive attitude too showed just how important it was to have people around to help me calm down. You find solutions much more quickly when you're not being aggressive or self-pitying or panicky. And if I'd been any of those things, I doubt I would be giving my third thanks, which is to the member of staff at our bank. He was completely understanding and worked really hard to try and make sure that our business will actually be able to continue to run more or less exactly the same as it always has, including with me still doing my job. But there are a couple of other things that happened this week that helped me put things in perspective. On the very same day I found out about the fallout from my DRO, I came back to an email from a teacher thanking me for spending the day with all of her kids and highlighting all of the benefits they'd drawn from my visit. I hadn't even asked for any feedback yet, so it was a real heart-warmer knowing that people really appreciate the work I do. Then the day after, Cotton Pad's nan decided it was finally time to go and join Cotton Pad's granddad, who had passed away about a year before. Spending time with Cotton Pad and her family helped me to realise your real earnings in life are the memories you leave with others. Money is an artificial score imposed on everybody, but in a game where only a few lucky people are in a position to play. Gratitude, that's a harder thing to earn, but a zillion times more enjoyable to give and receive. I'm really grateful that I met this inspiring woman who helped create the person with whom I share so much love. So this week I'm going to dedicate our Gratitune to her, Nanny Pam, who was apparently a big Elvis fan. And what Elvis song speaks more of the value of gratitude than this? The Wonder of You, originally by Baker Knight and Ray Peterson. You can enjoy the full version by following the link at the end of this video or taking a trip to our cards if you're on tablet or mobile, but first let us check the amount that we have raised so far in the fight against myalgic encephalomyelitis. That total is so far still £3.70. But we have been seeing you folks sharing our videos around, so thank you ever so much for helping us get that little bit further. Remember, every watch raises money for charity, and that figure can only go up. So please keep watching and sending us your blessings and telling your friends to watch also. Our last Thankful Thursday video was another hilarious episode of A Bit Nice News, and this Thursday we're planning a Halloween special. You might also like to have a rewatch of Colin's first appearance in the Graticast, and I'll post all the links to these on our cards for mobile and tablet users, and at the end of this video for everyone on a proper machine. So finally, thank you for watching. Before I leave you though, one last thing. If your finances are in the red, just remember, at least you lead a much more colourful life than someone whose outlook is black. Stay thankful, and ciao for now.